You're not going to make me cry. You're not going to make me cry. It's been such a blessing these past 2.5 days. Really just a flower, a new dawn, the sun coming up over the horizon. That's really how I feel. Just a warmth, and it's pretty powerful. So thank you all. I shared with you the other night in the introduction that even though I had a 4.0 out of graduate school, I was not thriving. It's interesting that with academics, you know, absent, Arnie Ben did a great observation the other night with finances. He said it's not just that you don't have the +2 when you save, you have the -2 when you have debt. So it's a bigger disparity than you realize. And I would say the same thing when we put our children in school for academics 40 hours a week, we are training them to use the principles they learn. We're teaching them principles about life. We're teaching them principles like the high bar of beingness is perfection. The high bar of beingness is that I'm going to succeed and some of you are going to fail. Because that's the paradigm. That's the way life works. And I'm going to be the one that succeeds. Because that's my assignment. So not only, you know, it's not only that we don't have life skills education formally, it's that children without principles for life skills take the skills they learn in academics and they use them in life. So now I'm in a relationship with someone, and if I'm right, guess what that makes you? And if you're right, equally me wrong. We can't both be right. The high bar is being right. When I was perfect by academic standards in school, but I was arguing with my husband. So all I knew is that I was a failure. I didn't have a good set of rules for what was I shooting for. And I think the narrative, in my humble opinion, is the most important thing you'll ever learn in life. And I do think it is the responsibility of the parental generation to provide the younger generation a good narrative of who they are and why they're here. A real gift came out of my failure. Initially, people would say to me, oh, yeah, I was depressed. I felt like attempting suicide, but I didn't. As somehow I was of lesser character than they were. And I had other people say, how on earth didn't you think of your children? And, you know, all I knew, and that was such a gift, because you know what? I did know what I knew, and I knew that what I knew was not what they were saying. And that was a great gift, because I realized you don't know me. I knew that for me the experience was like a bomb going off. I hadn't prioritized my basic, you know, sleeping, eating. I'd been under stress. We're fragile. We need to take care of this machine or it breaks down just like a car. It's not going to function well. So I got a gift. You know, there's always a silver lining. I got a real gift in it, and it was my own knowing, my own voice. And for once in my life, what other people were saying, their knowing, was not my reality. It was like, that's great, that's yours, but it's not my truth. I know my truth, and I'm not angry at myself. In fact, I forgive myself. That was a huge gift. It was amazing when I forgave myself. Oh my gosh. Now I started listening to news reports of people, even people murdering people. And I had compassion rather than condemnation. It was a huge gift. Rosina beautifully talked the other day about self-esteem versus external approval. In school, really, we are learning, if I do this, then I will be accepted, I will be praised. We're not taught that we are just as we are, beautiful, magnificent. And the blessing that also came out of this was that I learned, there I was in the hospital with my hands in leather restraints, and you know what? I felt free. I felt free of all the Post-it notes that people had put on me, telling me how to be, who to be, how to walk, do this, then I'll be happy. You know, all the stuff that people put on us all our life, they were all gone. And you know what? Even though I'd done something that everybody else thought was really horrible, I loved myself. I still loved myself. I knew somehow the skies had cleared, and I knew I was creation just like everything else. And I accepted to a greater degree diversity. We're all magnificently diverse, just like all of creation. And it was so nice not to be the exception to creation. And I knew nobody else was either. So instead of seeing myself as somebody who had to become something to be happy, I just saw myself more like a tree. And one of the reasons I saw myself as a tree is because I had carved a hard path. My roots had taken a real hard journey. But you know what? I had the green leaves above ground to catch the sun. And I was able to bring light and compassion when I spoke to people who had hard journeys. And I liked my new self. So I think it's important to ask, if we're not, if the high bar of being is not to have a 4.0 and to thrive individually, what is it? If it's not just to take care of myself, when I asked that question, what I decided is the high bar of being was to thrive individually and support others in thriving also. So that became my new high standard of being. And the one real clear thing I garnered was the importance of compassion. Condemnation is sort of like mud in a relationship. It's like mud when you're trying to make a chocolate cake. If you start with mud, you're going to have a mud cake. You're not going to have a chocolate cake. Relationships aren't really any different, whether it's your relationship with yourself or your relationship with anyone else. If you're starting with condemnation or judgment or negativity or criticism, you are starting with mud. You may get lucky. Somebody may like mud, and you'll have a mud bath, and it'll be fun. But, and I do have mud baths with my husband. Not that kind, but yeah. I mean, my point is, I digress. I'm so glad at least my daughter knows what I'm saying. Here's the deal. You know, we are going to throw mud sometimes. We are going to, but when we remember what our center is, we remember what our goal is, it's really easy to correct. You know, we can say, okay, I was tired, I was grumpy, I was not nice, and I snapped at you or I yelled at you. But guess what? I can go back to kindness, and I can go back to having a chocolate cake, and I can go back to having a loving relationship. And that's what helped us, you know, continue on through 27 years. I don't know if we'll be married tomorrow, but no, I'm teasing. Was that my sister? Okay, so I'm just about done here. The other thing that I learned was humility. There's so much about myself I didn't know. And I'm still learning so much about myself. And one of the biggest gifts of being admin for Parenting 2.0 has been learning all the things that so many of you know. And one of the most exciting careers, one of the most exciting frontiers, and it actually inspired this New Horizons panel, are the discoveries with the brain right now. We have literally, in the last 5 years, sort of revised everything we knew 20 years ago about the brain. We flipped it upside its head. It is the equivalent of believing the earth was flat and discovering it was round. The brain continues learning its entire life. And so this really inspires great humility. So many things. We think, oh, somebody has a stroke, therefore we put them in a chair in a retirement center and we let them stare out a window the rest of their life. Well, thanks to some wonderful individuals, like Baki Rita and Merzanich and other people in the field that didn't say, oh, I'm going to give up. They kept going. Baki Rita had his dad literally crawling around on the floor after his stroke, and in a year and a half he was back teaching at a university. So we're learning that if we just work with the brain and we take small steps, instead of taking big steps and saying, oh, you're never going to succeed, if we work with where somebody is and take small steps, actually miracles manifest. So again, humility, I think, is highly warranted when everything we once knew just a very short time ago is no longer true. And we have wonderful new horizons, new frontiers. Mark Romero, with his music, quantum physics, there's some wonderful things about who we are, this miracle of a human being that we are, that we do not yet know. And it's very exciting. So I want to close today with inviting everyone to, let's embrace humility, let's embrace awe, let's be children again. There's so much we don't know, and we have wonderful people that are really focusing in on critical points for moving forward, maximizing this gift we've been given, and thriving individually and communing optimally with others. Thank you.